right now on the screen is what the end users, and we are live. We're live. So give it a second here. Give people a chance to come in. You're not going to want to miss it today, folks. We got John Pajak, Turf Tamer, in the house. He's just getting ready. He's got his headset on. The audio's HD. We're getting ready for you. It's going to be a good day. As always, make sure you drop any comments in or any questions you have in the comments. John Pajak is on the line. He's got a great following on Facebook. He's friends with a lot of people. He's connected me with a lot of people in the green industry. People that are have their podcasts and are doing fun things. So you're not going to want to miss it today. Make sure you tune in. We got John Pajak in the hot seat here for Lawnbot Live today. It's going to be a fun time. Not going to want to miss it.
The seat's getting warmer, Kendall.
Is it?
It's getting warm, Kendall.
Yeah, that's
it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Hopefully we can provide a lot of value for everyone out there today.
John Pajak's heating it up. He's heating it up, folks.
We're going to make some wonderfulness today.
Now, you're just coming back in, right? You're coming in hot off the road from Paul Jameson's road show.
Yeah, Paul Jameson and the Green Industry Podcast, they invited me out. Toro had invited them. They were sponsoring the Green Industry Podcast, and their last stop on his fall tour was the Toro headquarters up in Bloomington, Minnesota.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm literally just fresh off the road from that. And that was a really cool experience. They were very hospitable, met some great people. And they gave us a sneak peek of some of the new equipment that they've got coming out. And it's not a secret anymore. We can kind of talk about it. And for the guys that are mowing, this will, be interesting. To some of the other guys in the green industry, they're just going to go, "Oh, there's nothing there for me." But they have some things in the works for just about not every. Well, actually, they do. They have some equipment offerings that aren't available yet, and we can't talk about them yet, but they will cover quite a bit of the green industry. And so it was just really cool to see some of the improvements that they had made on some of these mowers and things.
Yeah.
So just to kind of tease a little bit of some of the people that may be interested in that equipment, they got some really cool stuff coming out of the pipe. And if you check out that podcast, there you'll see some videos and photos of that.
Welcome. If you're just tuning in, you are watching Lawnbot Live, where every Friday we come to you with the people in the green industry doing exciting things. My friends, vendors, people that, like us or don't like us. We invite them on the show because we want to learn about their journey. We want to learn about what they're working on. John Pajak's doing fun and exciting things in the industry. And I thought I couldn't think of a better guest. As we're booking guests, I was like, hey, we need to get John Pajak on the show. It seems just everywhere on Facebook. And he's gotten me connected with some of the most, I don't know how influential they are, but they have a lot of followers in the green industry. And they are also doing exciting things. So some would call them lawn influencers. So he's got me connected with lawn influencers. So that's always good. John, thanks for coming on the show today. Tell Lawnbot Live, everybody watching, a little bit about you and Turf Tamer.
Well, thanks for having me on, Kendall. It's with myself, I have been in the industry for over 20 years now, in varying degrees of the industry. And it's just gotten to the point where, besides running my own business, I've been reaching out the past few years to try to help entrepreneurs and business owners build better businesses.
Yeah.
And that's just on my personal side, my uh, Turf Tamer Lawn Care, the business that I run, is we're a family-owned business, and we provide lawn application services to those in our area. We're not a big franchise at this time, but that might be something that I would love to get into. But at this time, I'm more interested in providing the best service and quality of service to the people that we service. It's a lot of service there.
I noticed that about the description on your website. You have some choice words around lawn care service versus a service. You seem to put service very high at your offering. Why is that? Why? I mean, is that the way you were brought up? Is that your competitive advantage? Is that what makes you guys different at Turf Tamer? Is just an intense focus on customer service? Is that what you guys are after?
That's pretty much. I feel that's one of the things that makes us different in a world of the lawn. Basically, the green industry. You know, it's very hard to differentiate yourself. If whether you're planting plants or you're mowing lawns or you're doing an application just to make a lawn green and weed free, those things, a lot of people, a lot of people could do that. But with, I would have to say 90% of our clientele, we know them. It's not just a wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Here's money exchanged for this service, whatever. We know a lot of our clientele, and we build trust with them. And they because they trust us to be on their property to do the things that we need to do. And instead of it being like, oh, there's the lawn guy, bring the kids in the house, it's like, hey, the lawn guy's here, let's go, that's John, let's go talk to him. Let's
Absolutely.
and that's kind of like how it's been, especially with this year. um Knowing your clientele, and I know that that's not a way to like super scale your business. It's almost impossible if you're going to scale your business to having multiple locations and things like that. It's going to be very difficult to do that. But like I said, I'm kind of focusing on a little bit of a niche where we go and we are that great service provider, and they can trust us. And they, even when people move, they're like, hey, can you come out to me, because I don't really trust these other people.
Yeah.
And it's like, we have our certain area that we work in.
Well, I mean, we heard that all the time when I was growing my lawn care company. It was like, hey, we've tried everybody in the book, and
Hmm.
I've been through this company and this company and this company. No one's taken responsibility for my lawn issues.
Hmm.
And that was a huge differentiator for us. He was like, you know what, Mrs. Jones, I'm going to take full responsibility for your problems. That's a great line, by the way. And it cuts through the BS right to the heart of the matter. And the heart of the matter is, in this world we live in today, nobody wants to take full responsibility for the problem.
Right.
So when you tell Mrs. Jones, hey, Mrs. Jones, I take full responsibility for your crabgrass, for your broadleaf weeds, for this and for that, even if it's not our fault, you know what? We're gonna help you with your issues. We're gonna make measurable progress in the lawn. And if they're cuckoo and you're never gonna make them happy, well, we'll just fire those customers. We don't need them.
Exactly.
We want to do business with people that are excited to do business with us. So I share that philosophy.
Hmm.
100%. Tell me about why you started Turf Tamer. Like, did you just wake up one morning and said, hey, you know what? I want to go get yelled at for crabgrass in the lawn. I mean,
Absolutely.
why lawn care, and why did you want to start a company?
I wanted to get yelled at by not just one boss. I wanted to get yelled at by 135 bosses on a weekly basis. Just hammer it out.
Yeah.
Uh, this kind of goes back to how I was saying I've been in the industry for over 20 years. Early on, I was a key lead guy for a company, and that's how I cut my teeth. Came in as just a mow guy. Did good things with the company. They gave me some. I was a crew lead for a while. They just kept putting people underneath me, and then they started kind of showing me some other things.
Yeah.
I left that. Was a college instructor for a while.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
yeah. A lot of people
I learned something. You know what? I learned something new about my friends on this show every week. At college, you're an adjunct professor. I mean, what was it? What would that look? What did that look like?
I used to teach. It was uh, uh, anatomy and physiology, kinesiology, massage therapy, and that was at Everest College, which was a um, like almost like think of it almost like as a trade school for medical professionals.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
you know. So anyway, I did that for several years, and they kind of burnt me out because I was hired on as a uh, as an instructor,
Mhm.
and then they started realizing that I could do other things, and it was ridiculous. With that company, I was an instructor. I was also the bookstore manager. I eventually became um, the assistant to the director of education,
Yeah.
and it was crazy. I mean, I had a full workload. I was working my butt off, and I wasn't making that much money. And when I left, I finally got tired of doing all of that. When I left, they ended up hiring 4 other people to replace me because they had 2 bookstore managers. One was for days and one was for nights because that school would go from 7 until 9, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. That's how classes ran. And to cover that, they hired 2 people, and then they also hired a director, an assistant to the director of education, and they had to hire another lab tech
Yeah.
to assist, which was crazy. They would have just paid me. They could have had me for a long time. But anyway,
Yeah.
after that, I went into construction, and that's kind of it's. I know this is a long diluted. This story is kind of weird, but
Most are. Most don't just like, you know what?
yeah,
I'm going to start a green industry business. I'm going to start a
yeah,
company. So that's what's fascinating. And that's why I asked the question to everybody that comes on the show is how did you get into the industry? Why did you
sure,
start your own company? If they're a business owner. So I
yeah.
love it. It's a journey, right? Life's a
Oh,
journey.
it's absolutely a journey. It's still a journey. I am not at the pinnacle of where I want to be at any means, but it was crazy after I was working construction for quite a while,
Mhm.
and things started going. The thing that changed was where I was working. It was steel mills and oil refineries, and it was dangerous work. And I just had my daughter was just born, and I had a few incidences in a row where I was one time I was almost severely injured to where I could have been crippled. The
Yeah.
second time I almost was killed. If I just chance just kind of prevented this, and it wasn't because of my negligence. It was because of the people around me not doing what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
I was always looking out for the others, and unfortunately, I didn't have others looking out for me. So that was kind of one of those judgment calls. So yes, I woke up one morning and I said, "I'm done doing this. I'm tired of. I'm afraid. I want to have my daughter see me around for a long time." And I thought about it. I said, "You know what? I never got almost killed mowing lawns. I never got killed digging a hole in
Yeah.
someone's lawn to put in, a new mulch bed."
Yeah.
Uh, so that was kind of like the epiphany moment, and then my wife and I discussed it, and she was actually the one that came up with, Turf Tamer
Mhm.
for the name, and basically ever since then it was crazy. I wanted to transition into lawn care slowly, still keep my um,
Day job.
still keep my day job and everything, but I
Spread
ended up getting
a little bit. Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to kind of ease into it. I'm like, oh, I'll get some clients and we'll, bridge the gap a bit. Well, I ended up getting into a car accident and broke my fingers. So when I showed up to work, they were like, "Yeah, we can't have you because we need you to."
Right? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
You need fingers and hands.
So they laid me off, and basically I started right then and there, and I just had to hustle to get people on board.
And how long ago was that?
That was 2015.
Okay.
2015.
You're handless, you're fingerless, and that's when you're like, okay, I don't have a choice. My back's against the wall.
Yeah.
I got to go 1000% in this direction, and there's no option but success and figuring this out and making it work.
Yeah, and it's not, you could always look back and go, "Oh, things weren't that bad," and you're like, "Man, this sucked."
Yeah.
Like, I remember just to make money, I was doing, and I don't like doing these anymore, but springtime aerations, I hate doing them because of the conflicts that it causes with the lawns.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I was out there doing these aerations with my broken fingers, and I'm not using a ride-on machine. I'm using one of the old,
Yeah.
God, I can't even remember which one it was. It was either a Klassen or a Bluebird with the, the drum on the front where you got to like really spin it. And so doing that with broken fingers is not always fun. Just
John,
a
that's why I love
pro tip.
you, man. Like, you're a down home boy. Like, I remember when I was 8 years old watching my dad out there on the lawns. Like, I was out there with him helping him service, and it was snowing in like November because it was just him, right? We were a small family-owned company at the time, and it was just him. It's snowing. We're trying to get all these aerations done. And I'm like, damn, like, I know hard work because I've seen it my whole life from my parents. And I can tell that you have that, as many people do in the green industry, that's sewed into like their fabric of who they are. They're some of the hardest working people I know, and they're willing to do whatever it takes for their family. So I think that's why we get along so well, John. I think that's amazing. So 2015, you start your business, and how did the first year go? I mean, were you just killing it, like picking up customers? Was it rough? I mean, a lot of people say they don't make money in their first year. How'd the first year look for you?
Well, here's the thing. Like, because I had experience being a crew lead, and also when I was working construction, not only was I with one company in particular, they had me around for years. I also was not just doing labor work. They pulled me into the office too. It seems like most of the bigger companies that I've worked for have seen something in me, and they pull me out of like the trenches,
Yeah.
and they'll pull me into an office position, and because they're just like, "Hey, can you help us with this?" And yeah, I would do that. When I was working construction, I started seeing, I started doing estimates for multi-million-dollar jobs, which was, I can't tell you, there's no class that you could take in college that could prepare you for that.
Yeah.
You just have to, not only do you have to just have like the wherewithal to figure these things out, but if you follow a structure that the company's already put in place, it makes it much easier. So that kind of like on the job experience really mattered. But the first year, going in with all that experience, going in with that knowledge and things, I was able to start the business and learn from others' mistakes by, one, we started off as 100% prepay.
Oh, wow.
So going into it, and everybody, especially like 5 years ago, and I know that doesn't sound like very long ago, but the green industry seems to be like decades behind everybody else's mentality when it comes to billing and things. They always think, hey, we have to do all this work for a whole month, send out the billing, and then wait for us to get paid.
Oh
And
my
it could
God.
be,
John, it's not just the green industry. It's the home service industry. We had our carpets cleaned, and a great company did a fantastic job here in Byron Center, Michigan. And they sent the guys came out and cleaned our carpet, and they like said, okay, we'll send you a bill. So we wait 2 weeks, we get like an invoice in the mail, and like we have to call with a card over the phone. Like, why wouldn't it? That's a sales process problem. Like, that company should be asking for that credit card at the moment I book the job.
right.
Or online ordering, really. But I mean, if you don't, that secretary in the office, whoever's taking that call, needs to be getting that card on file. So come out and bill that card as soon as that work's done. I mean,
Absolutely.
I know I could come into a business like that and increase the cash flow through the business instantly by just implementing a very simple system. So I have to agree with you on that, John. That's
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like the first year we were prepay only. So before we did any work, we had to have money in the either by check, cash,
Yeah.
or a card had to be paid. An invoice had to be paid. Over the next few years, I have transitioned everything to card on file.
Yeah.
That way, we're CCI compliant. As soon as work is done, it is charged, and any larger jobs that we may do, say if it's a turf renovation and people are like, I'm not really sure I want to pay you
Yeah. $2,000 up front.
$2,000 up front or 2 grand the same day. It's like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. We'll do like a quick installment where
Right.
just for us doing these things, bam, bam, bam. By the time that we are walking off of your property, we're gonna have the last payment. We're gonna make sure we're paid, and that has always cash flow for us and accounts receivable has never been an issue since
Yeah.
I started this business.
Well, we learned that the hard way with the renovations. I was this young, ambitious, energetic young man going out there, 21 years old. Like, I'm going to grow this business. I'm going to blow it up, right? Go out there, start selling all this work. Like, I initially getting into the industry had that thought, like, oh yeah, book the job, like pay, get a deposit, whatever. It's funny on those turf renovations, we sold the shit out. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of dollars on turf renovations. We come in, we kill off the lawn, we power seed it, we get a deposit, we go out and do the work, and then they don't water sometimes.
I know.
And then they're trying to withhold payment on the back end. So we learned really quickly with the turf renovations how to sell those and make sure we get paid on it. But yeah, it's amazing. So on the job training, 2015, first year in business, 100% prepay. I mean, we talked about this before we hopped on the line. So right now in your business, you're trying to go from kind of doing many services to just focusing on turf applications, correct?
Correct.
Why is that? I mean, is the mowing and stuff just not as fun to do? Is it just not profitable? Like, what's your view on it? Because I hear different things from different people on why they get out of that business. I want to hear your perspective on it.
It's okay. My market, it's really more of there's two big things that have really made me restructure in a way. One is finding finding employees
Yeah.
that will stick around and that will do this work. This year has been extremely difficult because even though we were cleared for work, we we had a hard time finding people because they were making as much or more money sitting at home
Yeah.
and not having to labor. In the past, we've had issues with, people destroying things and whatever. And some of that, I don't care how much training I could provide and support. Some of the people are just angry.
Yeah.
But really, when you sit back and look at it, you're if you like, let's just say you're just mowing, you're spending a lot of time. You need a lot of equipment. You need a lot of labor. Whereas you could send one guy out with a truck, and the profit margins are much, much better.
Right.
A single truck could generate. You have to have a lot more clients. Let's not forget about that. So for every one client, for mowing, you may need 3 or 4 fertilization weed control clients, but those trucks are much more profitable.
Yeah. That's kind of what we see across the board is, folks start out mowing or kind of doing everything, and they realize really quickly where the highest profit centers of the business are. And those types of services where it's recurring, right? So you're building a book of business every year, like that you can actually go turn around and sell for something on the back end. So it's like an annuity. You get paid the whole time while you're like doing the work. And then when you're ready to sell, you can sell for $1 to $2 for every dollar of revenue that you have on your books, typically, depending on how good the economy is, how many customers you have, route density, average customer value. There's multiple things that go into valuation of a turf business. But that makes a lot of sense to me, John. I mean, I see that a lot as well. Lots of companies, even guys in our industry, are getting out of snowplow, residential snowplow.
Oh yeah,
because it's just a pain in the neck. And what's interesting is they have residential snow customers, and this is what I've seen on the digital side. They have residential snow customers, and they can't. Snow is, you think like crabgrass and stuff in the lawn care. Imagine snow, and it's like, yeah, this company came out and took out a big chunk of my lawn and blah blah blah, and then they get on their Google page and start trashing their Google local page over snow work, when really the snow is just to pay the bills, is kind of what I'm hearing from most people, right?
Yeah, I mean,
winter until the next year.
Yeah, getting through the winter time here, because I'm in Northwest Indiana. We're right by Lake Michigan. We could get hammered.
Good, yeah.
We could get hammered with lake effect snow at any point. Because I mean, I'm just east of Chicago.
Yeah.
It's whatever Chicago weather is kind of what we get, except, like I said, we're more apt to get the lake effect snow, which if it snows to the west of us 3 inches, well, we might get 8.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a varying thing, and especially with snow removal. Last year, I did not. I finally cut ties with snow.
Yeah.
And a lot of my colleagues in the industry were just like, "Why? Why did you do that, dude? That's like," my friends in Minnesota, where I just came from. I just visited. Most of them just could not understand that decision. And I said, in Minnesota, I was just in Minnesota. It was snowing there.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Wednesday and Thursday, it was snowing there. We still have. I came back home and it was 70 degrees. We had like a crazy warm period. But point I'm trying to make is, it's not as dependable here. And not only that, anybody that does snow knows that you are basically a slave to the weather. You can't plan birthdays, holidays, anything. I remember my daughter I think it was her second birthday. I wasn't there for her birthday. I wasn't there for Christmas, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's, every single holiday, even Valentine's Day, if you want to throw that in as a holiday. Every single time there was a gathering, that's when it would snow. And I just got to the point where, after a few more years of that, I was just tired. I, we had a bad winter the year before, to where it did not snow enough for us to really, to be under that amount of stress of not knowing when you're going to be awake, when you're going to be away. It really wasn't worth it. I ran the numbers on it several times, and that's kind of one of the things that I am. I'm a numbers guy.
When done right, I've studied a lot of these businesses, and when done right, when done at scale, when done correctly, in the turf industry, chemical side, if done correctly, if you have enough customers and you're hitting your numbers P&L wise and everything, you can work 8 months to take the rest of it off.
Yeah, you can.
And then, you know how amazing it is to just sleep in December, the whole month of December, get some sleep. You're not waking up to go plow snow. So I totally agree with you, John.
Yeah.
That makes 100% complete sense to me. Let's shift focus, right?
I know. Hang on one second before we go on to that. I'm sorry, I don't mean to do it, but I'm not saying that snow is not a gold mine.
I know a lot of people that make a lot of money in snow.
If you do it properly, it wasn't working for us.
Yeah.
So that's why I say, that's why we don't do it anymore.
Right.
But trust me, for the people that are out there that you can truly crush it, especially if you're in a good market where you're in Minnesota, or you're in like Iowa or Michigan, or where you could almost depend on the snow. Yeah. Perfect.
But guess what? I talk to those same people, and the money's awesome, but it's also a big pain in the ass. So it's like,
well, yeah,
anything in life, right? It's like, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
You're right. The equipment costs, the initial equipment costs, the equipment maintenance. It's not like you buy a truck, and then it's good to go. It's like, hey, guess what? We're probably going to have to rebuild the front end every season.
We're going to buy this truck and go splash or go slam it into things.
Exactly. It's like, I got this new truck.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a new truck for snow?
That's
Good
awesome.
luck, man.
Jim Beveridge just popped in. Jim, I did snow since I was 16. Don't miss it at all. I see Jim and Judy. They're like, I think their place is Antigua. So they like have a really cool business, and they make their money in the spring and summer and fall, and then go on vacation. And the pictures he showed me at Lawncology last year were like epic and awesome.
Jim
Uh,
and Judy.
Jim
Jim and
brought
Judy are kind of like those type of people that I'm like, man, one of these days I'm gonna get my stuff together
yeah,
and go take my wife on some of these beautiful vacations
yeah.
that they go on because they work hard all season. They
Yeah,
kill it, and then
they play
they
hard
enjoy
too.
it.
They play hard too. Wayne just popped in, and it sucks you away from growing the growth of your lawn care.
Hmm.
So a lot of people don't know that you can actually grow your lawn care in the off season as well. So when I was running our lawn care company, starting in November, we would start calling, and this is what we're going to talk about in our webinar. So if you're not tuning into our webinar on November 6th at 1 p.m., you got to tune in for that because we're going to talk about what to do in the off season months to make sure you can grow your lawn care business, like hitting the list, getting that low hanging fruit. People you've given quotes to in the past, canceled customers. We sold tons of business between October and January for the next season because guess what? That's when the larger companies are sending their prepaid letters.
Right.
The renewal letters is in October, November. So people are thinking about it. Hey, honey, we just got this bill from X and X company, and I just got a nice phone call from a young man from a family-owned business that's looking to grow his company. That was always the line we use. And should we give him a shot? Like they're about the same price. So it's really interesting thinking about that.
Hmm.
I have to agree with you. Jim and Judy are doing it awesome. And I have to agree with Wayne too. It does take time and from growing your lawn care business. Mike Fabian just popped in. Hey, Costa Rica for the months where instead of waiting around. No, I think Mike's texting and driving. Mike, get back on the road. I'm just playing.
Hey, he's gonna be in Costa Rica instead of waiting around for
Yeah,
snow, and
yeah, he's
that's like,
probably there right now. He's
I
probably there
mean,
right now.
I'll tell you what, man, that is just to be able to go away for a month and not worry about it. Isn't that like one of the goals in life? Like just to be able to just step away
Well, John,
and know that everything's okay.
you mentioned it perfectly. Like I'm a new dad, and I remember when we first had Axel, you reached out, and you're like, being a dad is like one of the best things ever. How's it
Hmm.
going? Like, and it was hard the first 4 months, but now it's getting better.
Oh, it
He
keeps
8
getting better.
months, he's walking around, he's crawling, and like I have a really different perspective. I used to live a really like me focused life. I
Hmm.
think a lot of us do as we grow up and get older and get more mature. But it's interesting watching our kids grow. Your shift and focus just changes, and I've never had that like perspective until I had a kid. So I agree with it. Like we work so hard to kind of fulfill our own dreams and ambitions, but at the end of the day, it's like from a really like high level, like meta macro level, like what's all of it for? Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? Like, what is this life we're living, right? So it's I have to agree with you on that. That's
It's interesting that you bring that up because, like I said, my journey, being with Turf Tamer Lawn Care and the coaching that I'm doing now for businesses, it's still not the end game. It's not the tippy top, and you start realizing that regardless of what industry you're in,
so what is
especially
that for you? I mean, what is the tippy top? We talked about with the past and how you got here. What's the future look like? Like what's the windshield look like and not the rear view mirror when you think about it like that?
for me, still having Turf Tamer is going to be. I don't think I could ever let it go in a sense, just because there is some fulfillment in knowing that I built something that takes care of my family, and I didn't have anyone else to. Uh, Nobody gave that to me. Nobody just said, "Hey, this is how you do it, and this is how it happens." So that the lawn care business will always have a safe spot in my heart, and
Yeah.
I always cherish it. Uh, but there's days when I go nuts trying, going through all the day-to-day things, and it's just like, God, this sucks. Like you wake up and you're not excited to go out. You're not excited to answer the phone calls. You're not. You're just you're human.
Yeah.
and it wears on you after a while.
To 100%.
So
100%.
anybody that's out there that may be listening that is at a point where they're just like, oh man, it'll get better when we get here. Human nature is like, we'll always want more. But the
Yeah.
thing I was like, for me, like looking through the windshield as opposed to looking in the rearview mirror, I want to get to a point to where I can coach people and help people to help them avoid some of the pitfalls. It doesn't matter how much you tell somebody something, experience is always going to trump what uh, you could tell somebody don't touch the hot stove a million times and they're not going to like really take it serious until they touch that hot stove and go, damn, that's why that guy told me not to touch it. And they're going to have that painful memory, which will always they'll follow them through their entire lives.
Hard way. Learning the hard way. That's what that is.
Yeah, I mean, you have to learn the hard way sometimes, but there's also things like, hey, don't get into trouble with the IRS. You could tell people that, and it's like, this is what you have to do so that you don't inadvertently get in trouble with them. Or, hey, you should not work for free for like the first year or the 15th year of business.
Yeah.
I've coached some people that have been in business for 10 years and it looks like they're making money and they're not.
Yeah.
It's just
we talked about that on the phone. It's like, you're making all this top line, but the bottom line isn't looking so healthy. So how big of a company? So does it look like, you built this Turf Tamer business and you want to get to 30 trucks? Like, how do you view the next 5 years for your company?
Going back to the beginning of our discussion where I talk about, being focusing more on the service aspect of how we could service our people.
Yeah.
My original goal was to have 13 trucks. I wanted to have 13 trucks that did full maintenance, which was mowing and applications, and then other cleanup stuff. Then as time had gone by, I had really kind of scaled that back, realized what was in my market, what were the hot things, what were the most profitable things to focus on. And it just not even just the most profitable, like what was actually in demand. Because even though I have said, mowing isn't my cup of tea, there are still guys that once they get everything, their numbers dialed in, and they have the support with employees, they could still make quite a good living.
Yeah. John Ebert is a good example of that. He built a mowing business. This is super fascinating, interesting story. He built a mowing business that would just focus on push mowing. So he'd send guys out in a truck, push mowers, and got thousands of mowing clients, and then ended up exiting from that business because it was an actual company at that point. It wasn't the owner was going to cut every lawn.
Right.
He sold that business because he built a team around it. He had enough customers to support the revenue, or it was attractive to a buyer saying, hey, like real investors, real buyers, they don't want to buy a freaking job. They want to buy a business, right? They don't want to go, now I got to go figure out HR. I got to go figure out ops. I got to go figure out product. Like if you want to exit from your company, it's got to be a sellable asset that can somebody can step in next day and start making money. I mean, why would they buy a business where it's just a job? It doesn't make sense. So
exactly. I mean, think about that business model. It makes a lot of sense, and God forbid, people are going to probably start rattling the cages here. And what are you talking about? We as in the industry, we love our equipment. We love our big equipment. It makes us more efficient. It makes us
even the big guys. I mean, I know some owners that do lots of money in revenue, and they're going to the trade shows. They're kicking the tires on the old mower. Like people love that in our industry, and I really appreciate that because it's cool. It's cool to watch because it's like they grew up not having resources in many cases, and now they have the resources. Like, I'm going to buy that $100,000 truck. Like that's awesome.
Right. Or,
Only
like, even with, like, the mowers,
yeah.
"Oh, man, I $12,000 mower, it will make you more efficient. It's gonna last you a really long time." But with the smaller business model, where if you had 2 guys in a truck and they had 3 push mowers, uh, and so all the stick equipment, it's,
Yeah.
like, super easy to train on. You don't have to worry about somebody running over, losing control of a push mower and, taking out somebody's car or something.
Mhm, mhm.
I hope not.
Yeah.
But and then the equipment is relatively inexpensive. You could outfit a whole truck for, let's just say, 4 grand, and bam, there you go. It's repeatable. It's
Yeah.
like, here we go. This
I'm
is
gonna
the
put 5
little model.
grand in, and I'm gonna get 100 grand out, right? It's not
Exactly. You
duplicated
know.
replication, that's huge. John, I wanna get into something that, I thought was pretty interesting. I think a lot of our viewers would find interesting. You're kind of the mayor of the yard book community on Facebook. So, uh, how did you get appointed the mayor of the yard book Facebook group? Because I see you, I'm in that user group, so I like to be connected in the pulse. I'm in a lot of user groups for software
Mhm.
because I want to feel the pulse of the customer. Like, what are they saying? Like, what do they don't like? Like, what do they do like? Like, what are people saying? And I noticed very quickly that you're like the mayor. I didn't realize this till I joined the group, but you're like moonlighting as the mayor of Yardbook over there. How did that happen? Did they call you and say, John, listen, we're going to give you $2 million for 10 years being the mayor for Yardbook? How did that come about?
Oh, man, I tell you, I swear to you, that is truly almost not a full-time job, but that is a real part-time job, answering all those questions. How it happened, don't even remember at this point, because, I believe I was in another group, which was just a lawn care group, and I was helping people in that group with different CRMs. And I've had experience with Service Autopilot, Yardbook, um, and a few other smaller ones that some of them aren't even around anymore. But anyway, I was kind of that guy, that would answer those questions. Well, uh, there was the Yardbook user group popped up in my feed, and I'm like, I got invited to it. So I said, okay, yeah, let's go for it. And almost immediately, I was put in as an admin, and I never really talked to anybody about it. And I just went with it. I wasn't at that time, like, concerned about, like, how much time it might take up in my life. But then over the years, it's truly, uh, I answer a lot of questions on a daily basis.
You know
And
what they say is like you can truly something front to back when you can teach it, and you
yeah,
seem to be on there teaching it all the time. That's pretty amazing. And I think you're just that alone, I'm sure, is helping a lot of people, grow their business because I mean, your systems are everything. So that
yeah, I try to explain to people, especially within the group, it's like, I you could with Yardbook in particular, you have your functions, you have your features, you could use all these things, but it's not just about what the CRM can offer. It's how you have your systems in your business set up. And a lot of people ask questions that may not be related to Yardbook itself, and it's like,
yeah.
yeah, that's more of a business development issue that you're having as opposed to the software. But anyway, getting back to being the mayor of Yardbook, I don't get paid to do that,
Mhm.
and it is not a official group that was made by Yardbook. It was made by users that just needed a place to kind of
Yeah.
bounce
We see that
questions off of each
we see that
other.
with a lot of softwares in the past, the lawn space, all the users kinda get together and create these
Hmm.
Facebook groups as a knowledge base outside of the actual product, and it's really fascinating because when you think about it, these companies are like the fabric of these businesses. They're making them look really professional,
Hmm.
and because they're helping businesses grow at the end of the day. So that's amazing.
Yeah, and it's I'm not trying to. It's difficult sometimes to draw that line of, hey, I'm asking a question about the software, and then I'm asking a question about how should I be running my business?
Yeah.
And then when I do that, I don't advertise my coaching in any of those because I want to make it. You came in to learn about Yard Book, not, hey, John Pajak's financial coaching. We're not doing, I don't do that. But then when people reach out to me on the side and they're like, hey man, I got this question, and they private message me and
Right.
things,
Right.
then I'm like, hey, I got a course that you could take that can help you figure out your numbers and things like that.
That's awesome. So let's get into that. We're ready to wrap up the show. We're almost at time here.
Mhm.
Now, I'd like to end every episode with some advice. You mentioned the coaching that you do for some clients. What advice would you have for somebody that's, if you could go back to 2015 and talk to John Pajak back then, broken hands, broken fingers, and everything. Besides getting your pants fixed, what advice would you have for John Pajak back in 2015 that would maybe have helped you on your journey and path so far?
Stay smaller, stay focused on what you really want to do. Because starting over, like back then, if we're just gonna talk about uh, during that time period, I took any and all jobs because I needed to at that time. I felt like I needed to. It worked out, but over each and every year, I took our scope of work and shrank it down, and almost made everything a specialty. So there's I one common thing that I see with a lot of new guys and even experienced business owners is that they almost exponentially try to grow, but the service offerings that they still don't have those locked down to where they're extremely profitable or they're streamlined. They don't have a system for it. Just as an example, like you have guys that started out doing mowing, and then they wanted to add mulch, and then they wanted to add landscaping. Well, they didn't even have like their processes for those services down pat. And then when they start adding more, it's almost like starting in another business. I remember when I
Totally.
added um, the fertilization and weed control to our service offerings. It was literally like running two separate businesses.
Totally.
It, it,
100%.
because the margins are different, the equipment that you use is different. You can't just say, well, my man hour rate for mowing is this, so I'm going to apply it to this. It doesn't work. It's a different service. It's a different box. You have to kind of put those things in there.
The delivery's different, right?
The
You're out there
delivery is
6
different.
weeks as opposed to every week.
Mhm.
The way they sell it in a lot of cases is different, which I know that from our end because our pricing engine kind of sells all these services. So
Right.
mowing is sold different than fertilizing, which is sold different than mosquito, which is sold different than pest control.
Exactly. And then that would be the next thing that I would recommend to
Yeah.
myself is don't focus on like the work itself. Build the company.
Mhm.
You have your systems in place, but guess what? Nobody's going to care about that. Nobody's going to know about you unless you're marketing.
Right.
And if you could convert all that marketing into sales, that's the only thing that truly matters.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, on a profit and loss statement, at the very, very top is the revenue. It's the
Hmm.
sales. And everything else below that is the expenses or cost of goods sold.
Exactly. Budgets, break
There's
evens, and
no
bottom
cost
lines,
of goods
baby.
sold or no expenses without revenue. And sales drives revenue. So
And
if
you
you want
need
to grow your business, buying a new mower it's going to help you carry out on that sale, but it's not going to help you sell your services. So
if right.
absolutely, I'm going to have to agree with you on that 100%.
If I could do it all over again, I wouldn't even have purchased some of the equipment. I would have just made do with maybe not as efficient equipment. I
Yeah.
mean, it would have been good equipment, but just I would have went full in on the sales and marketing,
Yeah.
uh, because the thing that influenced me was like coming out of construction. I was working for companies that had multi-million dollars worth of equipment already in place. They had the infrastructure in place, so it's like, oh yeah, 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 here we go. Oh, wait, how did you get that job? Oh, didn't think about that. You know, so going back into that, really perfect the craft as much as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect,
Mhm.
but what you should work on most is selling, marketing, and then closing those sales.
Totally.
You can get 100 estimates a
Totally.
day, and if you only sell one,
Yeah. Yeah.
depending on the ticket price, that's probably not going to do it. You need to be able to have a really good close rate,
Yeah.
and get those clients.
I remember in the early days when we didn't have money for an answering service, so we had like 2 employees, basically me and my parents, and
Mhm.
I had this Bluetooth headset that was wrapped around my neck that would vibrate when a new call came in because I knew I drew a line in the sand and I said, "Hey, there's one thing we do in this damn company to grow it. We're gonna answer that phone every time."
Right.
And every time a call came in when I was servicing a lawn, I was literally like walking behind our fertilizer spreader sprayer, and I would stop the machine on the lawn, take the call, and be like, "Hey, this is Kendall with Lawn Doctor. How
Hmm.
how can I help you today?" And I'd be like pulling up their lawn on my phone and like looking at it and be like, "Oh yeah, that's $50, and we can get you started tomorrow. How's that sound?"
Hmm.
And we capitalized on the basics way before we had the resources to actually do real marketing. So I'm gonna have to agree with you 100% on that. And it doesn't end. Like it's constantly
No,
changing. And we're going to talk about that in the webinar, but it's constantly changing and evolving and new platforms emerge. And as I'm sure we all know. So I would have to sell, sell, sell. Let's grow revenue and also
you
build the company, not just
yeah. Don't be afraid of the new technology that's come
Mhm.
out. I mean, with the stuff with Lawnbot is incredibly impressive. And I mean, if you guys existed 5 years ago, I mean, I can't even imagine where you'd be today.
Yeah.
But just almost the ease of the selling, the getting that pressure. Because like sometimes, when the phone rings, you look at the clock and you're like, man, it's the end of the day. I really don't feel like taking this call. You still
Yeah.
take it,
Yeah.
but your energy might not be there.
Yeah.
Whereas the lawn bot, it's right there. It's always there.
Right.
It it just goes through its thing, and it's a machine. It's a selling machine. Uh, People are fallible.
Yeah.
You know,
And
you're
worst
not going
case,
to be.
even if Lawnbot doesn't sell it, what we're hearing from big companies, even with like call centers, is
Mhm.
that those callbacks, the customer's already down to your buying journey process. Like there's no
Right.
education really. It's like the sales reps calling and saying, "Hey, Mrs. Jones, it's Kendall with blah blah blah. Saw you didn't buy on lawn our instant quote tool. What's holding you back?" It says that product was your objection. Like I am willing. Let's talk about all the great products we use on this phone call. And more importantly, let's ask for the sale again. And what
Mhm.
people are telling us is those callbacks are so warm after going through Lawnbot. Like the sales are great, but what also is great is the callbacks for their sales reps when they call. That ball has already moved down the field to the goal line and it's ready to be pushed across by a trained salesperson on the phone.
Right.
John, we're at time. I have a hard stop here at 1 p.m. I want to thank you for coming on Lawnbot Live today. I think that you've dropped immense amounts of value, and so thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Kendall. It's always good talking with you.
Awesome, John. We'll have to do this next season as well. We'll add you to the guest list, bring you back on, and see how much growth is transpired since then.
Appreciate that,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Thanks for coming on.
You have a great one.
Yep. See ya. That was John Pajak, the one and only Turf Tamer Lawn Care. We got Dennis back in the house. He's making clips. He's making content. We got to do. I said this last week, but we're actually gonna have to do an episode with Dennis next week. Nose guard, Grand Valley State. I looked at his. We had to get a team picture, and I was on his Grand Valley website. I was like, damn, you do not want to mess with Dennis. You want so if you're gonna steal our measuring tool, we're gonna have Dennis pay you a visit to your house. All right? No, I'm just kidding. You can't say that. I want to invite everybody to our webinar we're doing, the No BS Guide to Dominating Digital in 2021. You're not going to want to miss it. This is going to be epic. We're going to talk about where you should be spending your ad dollars digitally in 2021. We're going to take you through. There's 11 chapters on Facebook ads, Google My Business, Google Pay-Per-Click, Nextdoor, everywhere where you can get high return on investment on your marketing dollars for 2021. We're going to be releasing an ebook. And we're going to be doing a webinar. We're going to be doing the webinar first. After we do the webinar, we're going to release the ebook out to everybody, which is actually like the instructions for like how to carry this out. And has nothing to do with Lawnbot. We just get a lot of questions here at our office about, you know, how do I grow my business? How do I take it to the next level? Where do I spend my marketing dollars? Like, and especially in this new economy, things are changing so quickly. Nextdoor did not exist as a marketing platform 6 years ago. Now it could be one of the best places to spend your marketing dollars because nobody else is paying attention, frankly. So make sure you tune in. There's a link in this description in this video. It's lawnbot.biz/ebook, lawnbot.biz/ebook. You're not going to want to miss it. Hope everybody has a great weekend. I always enjoy doing these shows because I get to talk to awesome people like John. If you're interested in coming on the show, reach out to us, DM us. I want you to come on the show, share your journey. If you want to give back to people in the green industry, I want you to come on the show. So I hope everybody has a great day. I know we are here at Lawnbot. We have an interview at 1 p.m., so we'll talk to you soon, and see you next week.